Welcome to Redify, your go-to channel for the funniest and most unbelievable stories. Today, we have a mix of jaw-dropping tales that will keep you hooked. Let's dive in. Our first story comes from our Amethyst Hole, where Op deals with a challenging situation involving their partner's friend and setting boundaries. AITA for putting up boundaries with my SO's friend. I 19 FAM dating my boyfriend 22 meters who I will refer to as LL, and I have been dating for about a year and 3 months, but we've been friends since middle school. We have a couple of friends included in this story whom I will call W2OF and T20 meters. For some insight as well, I have diagnosed BPD with schizoaffective think that's what it's called issues. Back around the beginning of this year, T had some issues regarding their boyfriend. They reached out to me in hopes that I would have been able to help them. During this whole ordeal, I had been telling my boyfriend about it. T was constantly venting to me and coming to me about their issues, and they never listened to what I had been saying about the whole thing. It got to the point where their boyfriend had started messaging me. T's actions were not exactly the best, and it led me to stressing myself out because I was stuck in the middle. I brought it up to L, and he got involved in the arguing. At some point, T and their boyfriend broke up, and T started living with my boyfriend. Now, L and I have this weekly routine of spending his days off together. I normally spend the night, and we hang out and go out since being at my house isn't ideal for our plans. Since T has been living there, it has felt unbearable. L and I hardly have time alone because T follows us around everywhere unless we are upstairs in L's room. There was an issue lately where L and I got into a bit of a fight, which triggered an episode for me. I had put in my Discord server that's being run by me and W that I was having sheesh thoughts and I didn't know how to deal with the situation. T reached out with intent to help but made the situation worse. When they reached out, I had asked for a call since I've done this with them before. We called and they tried to comfort me, but they were saying things that didn't make sense, and it got to the point where I spent an hour questioning my relationship with LT had told me that L is always talking to somebody especially when they get home from work, and that L isn't himself when I'm around. They also said that L hardly talks when I'm there as well. At the time, it made me feel like L wasn't all that into me, and our entire relationship was a lie, which led me into relapsing to SH. I had posted in my Discord vent channel, it's literally like a journal for me at this point, that I had relapsed, and T kept texting me and saying things like, I always fuck everything up. And I just keep hurting people and you're proof. And it got to the point where they told me they almost relapsed because of me. I was still in the peak of my episode during that time, and I just told them to shut up. A day or so later, W had informed me that T was talking about doing drugs to cope with the situation. I had decided that for my own safety, I was going to attempt to avoid them. This wasn't the first issue I had with T, and I did not trust myself to even be around them. I had started excluding them from the things that L and I do, like smoking and hanging out. It was hard to avoid them though, considering the fact that T lives with L at the moment. A couple of days ago, L and I were hanging out with some friends and L invited them back over to his place. L lives with his mom still, but we didn't think it would be that big of an issue if we hung out in the backyard. L separated from me for a moment to go grab something, and T immediately turned to me and asked if they could join. I told them no, and that I wanted some space away from them. They took that very personally and told me that I had space enough and I didn't have a choice since it was their living space. I got really upset and went to the backyard with my friends and called WW, and I talked about it for a sec before L came back out. And I told him what happened. L went inside and started arguing with T until L's mother came downstairs and told them to stop. L's mom decided to kick L and I out until T left for work. When we got back, L's mom came in and lectured me for about half an hour about how she didn't like how I was treating T when she gave me an opportunity to defend myself. I was hardly allowed to say anything, and whatever I was able to say was tossed to the side and dismissed. L's mom confirmed that L is different when I am around, and then she lectured me about how L is allowed to have friends. I thought it was quite stupid since I literally don't care if L has friends. I know he's a social butterfly, and I don't want to stop that at all. She also wouldn't allow L to touch me during the conversation, even though all he was trying to do was touch my arm to make sure I was okay. L's mom also said I was bullying T by not allowing him to hang out with us. Can you believe this? It's amazing how some people can be so inconsiderate. Navigating boundaries, especially when mental health issues are involved, can be incredibly challenging. What would you have done in OP's situation? Next up, we have a story from our Amethyst Hole, where OP navigates the complicated waters of sharing personal information with a third party. AITA for sharing personal info to a third person. Okay, so here's the story. I got into med school a couple of years ago and was quite introverted, and I tried to be more open. I made friends. I started being social. I'm quite introverted, so this was a big plus, and I joined a couple of clubs too. I met a girl I liked in one of these clubs and I asked her out. She agreed and we started dating. Now it took me months to even convince her to start dating because she was very much against relationships, said she didn't like the drama that came with them, and that she didn't need anyone. But I pushed her, and eventually found out she had tons of past trauma from bad relationships. I stood by her and never left her while she worked through all of her trauma. She would scream at me, lie to me, do anything so I'd leave her, but I never did leave her. Then one day she lies and told me she was cheating on me, so I got mad and we fought. And she blocked me off. She wasn't actually cheating, she just said it to make me go away. And before you guys say I forced her into this, she herself later told me that she liked me trying so hard for us and that it made her fall for me more. A week later, she apologized and I accepted it and we got back together. Only this time it was perfect. Everything was perfect. Yes, we had fights, but we grew through them. Yes, we hurt each other, but we'd make up for it and grow together. I even brought her to my home for a night when my folks weren't in town, and she woke up in my bed, suddenly crying and telling me, "Please don't leave me." And I held her and told her I'd never even think of doing anything like that. Her birthday came. We went out for an entire day from morning till night as I gave her one of the best days of her life. Her own words. 2 months later, we had a big fight. The fight was about how she was working too much on one of the clubs at our college and was neglecting her studies, so much so that she failed a subject. I scolded her for not studying because we had both agreed at the start of 2024 to study well and not fail. She kind of had a bad time at the presentation of this club, so she was already upset. She didn't like me doing that at all. She forgave me, she said, but I saw that the old her was just not there. On our 10-month anniversary, when I sent her a gift, she replied back saying she lost feelings for me without having any reason. Mind you, this was not something casual relationship we had. I'd warned her many times after she came back that I wanted a proper relationship that lasts, and she had agreed with me saying that's what she wanted too, and she even joked about us getting married, etc. I tried in vain for 3 months now to get her to reconsider and come back. I even tried contacting her friends, but nothing worked. She found out recently that I told her friends about how I wanted her to come back, and in the process, she found out how I told a couple of her friends some stuff that was definitely personal, like the one where she came to my home. She got super mad, said she couldn't trust me, said I was lying, and when I tried to tell my side of the story, she told me that all of her friends can't be lying to her. I called her again twice after a few weeks, but I'm already blocked off from everywhere. I think I might be the asshole because I told a third person, her friend, about her coming to my home. In my defense, all I can say is that it was a very horrible time for me. I was crying on the phone to this friend, but she apparently told someone else, and from there the whole thing got to my ex. My ex wouldn't even listen to my side of the whole thing. She just said that not everyone could be lying to her, and that I betrayed her trust. AITA. This one is tricky. On one hand, Op was looking for support during a tough time, but on the other, sharing personal information can breach trust. It's a reminder of how important it is to respect boundaries, even when we're hurting. What do you think? Was Op in the wrong here? Our third story comes from our Amethy's Hole, where Op is trying to understand if they fumbled their first relationship or if there were deeper issues at play. It was my first relationship. Did I fumble? Advice needed. My ex of 2 years initiated the breakup. I met him 2 years ago. After 2 weeks, we became exclusive. At that time, I was moving places in a city. I have no family and very limited friends. My ex wanted to help in the moving, but I had just met him and I didn't trust him enough to actually come through. Instead, I asked a guy from my past my benefit that I was not sexually involved with at all at that moment and his friends to help out. I had helped them move and they were the only ones I knew that had a license to rent a truck and etc. When my ex found out I asked someone from my past to move, he became extremely angry and used words like, "I would have dumped your ass there. And then if I knew, you took the opportunity for me to dump your ass." And it's now 2 years later that I've invested myself in this relationship. I told him it's my first relationship and I'm an international student who has no one. And I'm independent for the first time. At that time, I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't cheat on him and he believes me. But he thought I betrayed and manipulated him. We started calling each other GF or BF a month after I had moved. It was also supposed to be a short-term relationship as he was going back home. I did apologize after I realized his POV, but now I think, was it that bad? I never cheated on him. Even in the 1.5 years of LDR and not meeting him, never. Then right after this conversation, we spoke about my child abuse, and I told him I'm very open to talk about it, and he asked me how many people know about it. I counted and told him 5 people. He started accusing me that I'm lying and that before I said only one person knows it. I reminded him that only one person knows who my abuser was, but I have told a few people in my life. He was again extremely angry and said I was a liar and my actions don't match my words. I went over our chats and sent him a screenshot from 2 years ago where I clearly told him that I have told this to some people and now I was telling him. He completely disregarded it and his tone and words were extremely obnoxious. The next day I broke up with him because I realized I don't want a man in my life who can speak to me like that after knowing how loyal I have been with him. Rejected marriage proposals for 2 years. Accommodated his needs even when I was uncomfortable, which he was aware of, stayed with him in LDR even when he didn't have a job or a visa to come back. In therapy now, I realize how toxic all this was, but is this also abusive? I'm confused. Obviously, I hate him, but I don't just want to think it was abusive because I hate someone. This person was aware of my traumatic past and that I had trust issues. Was I really wrong in asking a guy from my past to help me move? I'm open to criticism for myself as well. Family dynamics can be so complicated. It's important to stand up for yourself, but also to find a balance that works for everyone involved. In this case, it seems OP was trying their best to manage a difficult situation, but communication breakdowns and past traumas made things even harder. What are your thoughts on this? Thanks for watching Redify. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below with your thoughts. We upload new Reddit stories every day, so don't miss out.